I'm Paul, speaking for Free Range with Gail and Gaia. Welcome to the program. Today, Gail welcomes Celeste, Sedona, Arizona's own visionary artist. What is that? I had no clue before showtime, but we're all going to find out at the same time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are. This is Gail of Gaia, and this is Free Range, where we graze on wild ideas and we speak to wonderful guests. And I have a really wonderful guest for you today. She's awesome. She's internationally known visionary artist, teacher, and a published writer with a master's degree in fine art. She's traveled the world studying and developing her talents and artistic skills and intuitive gifts. Her soul portraits, original paintings, and published writings bring the cosmic beauty, universal wisdom, and unconditional love of spirit into human awareness. Celeste inspires a deep communion with the eternal divine spirit. And that's where we want to be today, to make that connection. Thank you, Celeste. I'm so happy to have you join us on this show.
It's
Welcome.
wonderful to be here with you.
Well, I am. You have done so much. I don't even know where to start. We could talk about the soul portraits, or we could talk about the book that you have one volume done called Tales of the Planet. I'd kind of like to hear a little bit about that, if you don't mind sharing that, and then we'll move into the soul spirits. Is that
okay?
With you?
Certainly. I have been an artist all my life, and I've begun to be a spiritual artist when I began to meditate and take a course in meditation in the early 80s. And I would just meditate every day at the same time, the same place, and these wonderful beings began to come through in my meditations. And I had a journal, and I started writing, and then I would see these beings in front of me. So as an artist, I draw a picture of them on my line journal, And then over the years, I realized, with a lot of encouragement from my teachers, that this was very helpful to other people to bring in this, the higher wisdom of spirit into a physical form in a drawing. And so over the years, I've just been blessed with ascended masters, archangels, lady masters, all kinds of visual things. But then they started telling me these stories. They would come into my meditation, and I'd be ready to write. And this is how Tales from the Planets began. And the first one came in, I think it was Adonis came to me. And I had done his portrait. He's a great being. He was a Greek god, but he wasn't really a god. But he came to the Greeks, so he worked with the Greeks. But anyway, he told me about this extra planet in our solar system that nobody knew about. And I thought, why are they telling me this? I wasn't interested in astronomy. But it turned out that this was the first of the Tales of the Planets. And it's this history of our solar system, and told through stories. Like the Native Americans stand up around the fireplace and they tell stories. And this is the way they came to me. So each planet came, first of all, I got the Planetary Council portraits. There's 10 of them, and I did all their portraits. And they're wonderful beings like Merlin and Horus and I can't even think of their names, Enoch, and all kinds of wonderful beings. So I did all their portraits first. And then they began to come and tell me these stories. So it ended up when my husband couldn't sleep at night because he had pain in his back. So he started typing these up. And then he started publishing them. So I have all these little booklets. Each one has 3 stories about that particular planet. And what happens is we're a family of planets, and what affects one planet in our around our solar affects everybody. So everybody's very concerned about Earth right now because of we have the power to destroy it with our things. And so they want us to know that they're there, they're helping us. We've gone through this before. They can give us a lot of wisdom and a lot of help to deal with Earth as a planet. And the last Tales from the Planet I got was about Earth, and it was about the future of Earth and about
Oh, tell us.
ascension and things like that. But I wrote all these. I mean, they came through, and we published them, and I wrote them all out and everything. And I used to travel all over the country and give lectures on them, and but with COVID, I haven't done that at all. I've been staying at home, so I've kind of gotten out of the groove of channeling these wonderful stories. I've got a lot more in me, let me tell you. But I did publish this one novel, I call it, called Into the Maelstrom. And maelstrom is a Danish or a Norwegian word meaning where two conflicting currents go down. There it is. Yeah. Go down down. They draw everything down in it. And this is what the story is about. This first book is about 3 days of 6 characters really drawn into this maelstrom. It was a nuclear war between the males and the females on a planet called Maldek. I don't know if you've ever heard of Maldek.
Yes, I have.
But Maldek then was really destroyed in this, and it became Earth. So Earth is an old Maldek. And all these stories are in my Tales from the Planet. But Mars was pushed further away from the sun and became cold on the surface. And Venus was pushed closer in orbit, closer to the sun. And so they had to ascend into the higher frequencies to live there. So it affected the whole solar system. And this is what my Tales of the Planets are about. They're about the past, but about the people that live in there. And there's great, there's sex in the first chapter, and there's romance and love in my
wow.
my little volume here. And of course, I have a lot more volumes to write, but that'll have to wait, I think. But it's so exciting because it just comes through, and I write it down, and I paint these pictures, and they're real to me. And people say, "Did that really happen?" And I don't know. It's real to me.
I saw it, and I painted it.
I don't have dark energy come or evil stories or anything. They're all wonderful, loving beings that want to help and want us to be more aware that we're all in this together. And we should be calling on that wisdom and that experience. Yeah, there's the layout of the planets at the time, where there's Maldek in the middle, and then there's this other big planet that called Nibiru that caused a lot of the problems. So there's Venus and the two satellites for Maldek were Hades and Eden, and those words have come down to earth in stories too. But it's really a big exciting process that I had, mostly in the early 2000s in there when I was doing.
Oh, that's when you started doing this?
I think I published it in 2011. Yeah, I did. And of course, it just says in the last chapter, oh, well, more to come. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So basically, you get downloads and then you just write.
Yeah, I do. And then
you get visions too.
I've always been a writer as well as a painter, artist, but I just really am very careful about my writing, and it takes me every hours and hours to get it right. And then I like it when it's done. Okay.
So you're a perfectionist.
Drive my husband crazy because he'd have it all typed up and ready to publish. No, you got to change this and that's wrong. So we got 10 of those little booklets published. And then this is the first of the novel that kind of puts them all together. But
Fascinating.
that's exciting. And that's just one of the projects because I've been doing the soul portraits now for almost 40 years. And
That's
I, yeah,
fascinating.
that
So
has continued through the COVID. People just find me and I do them on the internet, and they send me their photographs or pay on PayPal. So yeah, and they're always, my understanding about a soul portrait is that here's everything's written down. I love it. Celestial soul portrait. I should read it. It's really good. But I sit down with the person or the photograph and ask and meditate and ask for their highest guidance right now, and let go of all the anything that's not serving their highest good this time. And then I just wait, and I've been trained to look into my inner vision, like I have a big movie screen in my mind in my meditation, and I look at that and I begin to see images and get the ideas. So I start drawing. It's a pastel drawing that I do now mostly, and it's like 11 by 14, I think. Yeah, something like that. And I just pick up the pastels and draw. And these wonderful images come through. And I give a reading to an interpretation of what all the symbols mean for you, that person. And, they can ask questions and that sort of thing. But I get a lot of, when will I meet my soulmate?
of
And
course.
I want to sort of raise the focus here to a higher level of consciousness. These are some of my portraits for people here, you're showing on the screen. I
That's
also
beautiful.
do couples. Here comes a couple portrait. And they're fascinating because I find that, they've been together in many lifetimes. And I usually get 3 lifetimes for them. And I put them down and tell them all about that. So they loved each other. They couldn't be together. They loved each other. And they went through all these horrible things together. It just makes it so clear why they're drawn together in this life and what they can do together. So couples are really important too. I did this one on the left of a man from India. He contacted me from India,
Wow.
and this was his soul portrait.
You're internationally
Fascinating.
known. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've worked with people all over the world. Yeah, they find me, and they're all different. So I never know what it will be when I start, and I try to get my ego out of it, and I try not to remember them because you know it's not me, it's spirit coming through me. So that's a real learning experience because I feel so much love at the time from spirit. Your angels come through, your masters, or your soulmates, or all this wonderful being, and I feel that love within myself. And especially when I first started traveling, and I do portraits for all these good looking men, and oh goodness, that was not right. I fall in love every day, and so I have to learn to be more detached from it and know it's coming through me. It's not me.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
but it's such a blessing. I mean, and I can be an artist, and I can do my soul work, and it's great. I found my way.
Oh, and the number of portraits that you've done is absolutely fascinating.
Oh,
And you've done the pictures
thousands
of,
and thousands.
I know, and because I go to your website and I look at all the pictures and I'm going, oh my God, this woman is prolific with portraits. I mean, it's just
I used to
so
travel
wonderful.
all over the country, when I in my 60s, and I would be gone 5 weeks, and I drove maybe 5,000 to 6,000 miles, and I'd do almost 900 portraits in that
Wow.
time. Oh yeah, here's some of them here of the portraits I've done. I've done extraterrestrials. I've done leprechauns and fairies and all kinds of wonderful beings.
So all these different beings come to you in different meditations, or when you're
Yeah, some of
and you
these
get
on the
visions, and
stage are actual soul portraits, and some are drawings. Like I did a series of 12 lady masters at one point, and there I see them in their Mother Mary, Lady Clear, Kuan Yin, Lady Venus, Mary Magdalene, um, these wonderful females. That,
Would you tell me a bit more about the leprechauns?
the leprechauns, ran out of room to a man. I did his portrait, and he used to be a leprechaun. Let me tell you, he's still looking for gold in this life. You've heard about leprechauns looking for gold, haven't you?
oh yeah,
Yeah. Well, he's always out looking for gold, and I did his soul portrait, and there he is.
is
Um,
he in this picture anywhere?
no, I don't
Oh,
have.
okay,
I don't
okay,
think
just
so.
wondering.
No.
Okay,
Actually, I have a one right behind me. It's called Leprechaun Tales. Leprechaun. Yeah, and it's a little leprechaun telling this little girl this story, and quite charming in the forest. So I think I was a fairy, and I knew him as a leprechaun. So we've had all kinds of different lifetimes,
lifetimes all over and on different
and I had
planets
to
at times
remember a
too.
lot of my lifetimes to do this work. Oh dear. So yeah, but here I am again. Here we are.
Well, so I anticipate you must be a very old soul, which is a good thing.
Well, I keep trying to finish it off here. But I got to be an artist in this life, so that's my biggest thrill, because so many lifetimes I was around artists and I wanted to be an artist, but I was a woman and I couldn't do it. Get married and have children. At least my father in this life, he was wonderful. He didn't tell me I had to. He told me I could be. He supported me to be an artist. But he says you have to be able to support yourself. But it wasn't about getting married and having children. It was about getting a job. So my choice in those days was a nurse, a teacher, or what is it, a secretary. So
Mhm.
I took secretarial training when I was 16 that summer, and I learned to take shorthand and type and all that sort of, and I could always get a job, and then I could do my art on the side. But now I don't have to be a secretary. I can be an artist.
That's awesome.
So
That's
he was
awesome.
great. He was supported me. He took me to these free art classes for 6 years. I lived in a little town north of Pittsburgh, and Carnegie was a big millionaire at the time, and he was building libraries everywhere in the university and the art museums and all that. And they had these free art classes for kids all around Pittsburgh and on Saturday mornings. And my dad would take me down there. It would be at least an hour drive, and what the 2 hour class, and then he'd pick me up and bring me home again for 6 years. We even went to the university and had university professors, and so that was great. And he really supported me in that.
That
So
helps a lot to have
yeah, it's
family support
wonderful.
when you're trying, especially an artist.
Yeah,
Because everybody will say, well, you don't want to be an artist because you can't support yourself. And it's hard for artists
yeah.
in a variety of capacities, whether it's writing, whether it's acting, whether it's painting or
Yeah.
whatever. It's never been a very highly supported
No,
career.
especially for a woman. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I hung around all these wonderful artists, and now they're my guides in spirit.
Hmm.
Leonardo da Vinci, I love to talk about him. I had a lifetime with him. I
Really?
dressed
Tell
as
us
a
about it.
boy. I dressed as a boy, and I hung out his studio, and he tried to get rid of me, because I was an illegitimate child of the Duke of Milan. The Duke of Milan. He had lots of children and lots of going on, but yeah. So my father decided to marry me off, and he put me in this. I ran away, and Leonardo protected me and hid me. And but my dad sent soldiers and put me in this tower. And I wasn't going to do this, I wasn't going to get married. And I tied the bedclothes together, and I tried to climb out the window, and I fell and I broke my back. So
Ooh.
that wasn't a very good lifetime. I couldn't get married. I couldn't be an artist. It was not good. So, and of course, I married
Wow.
him in this life, my father.
Oh my
So
goodness.
it goes
Wow.
round and round. It's great to know your past lives, isn't it?
It is, yes, and many of us don't. Many of
Oh,
us
well,
don't.
yeah.
But
I had a teacher that said, "Not when I first opened up to all this, and one after another was coming through," and she said, "Don't get all obsessed with your past lives, though." So that was good advice.
who told you that?
My teacher at the meditation,
Oh, okay.
she was
Okay.
very helpful, and
That's
she
interesting because
really acknowledged my ability to visualize and bring stuff into the form and words and pictures. So she encouraged me too. So I've had these wonderful people along the way, to keep me
that
going.
is wonderful because that's one of the things that has been discouraged in the school system. I mean, art classes you're lucky if they even are offered.
Right.
Um,
I know.
so that your imagination, which is extremely important in creating your reality,
Yeah.
is discouraged,
Well, that and
and
art and music programs are usually the first ones
yes.
that are scaled back or
Oh,
cut down.
true.
Exactly, exactly. And the little kid that stares out the window and is daydreaming is scolded and punished, when in fact they're using their imagination right at that time. and
Yeah. Well,
so
in
it's
school,
unfortunate.
I was always told, "Well, get to work. What are you thinking about?" Because I was floating around the space all the time. And
Always in a different world or in a
I
different place
know, and I
rather than
always
the
just,
classroom.
hey,
Yeah,
hey, get to
I
work.
can
What are you
relate.
doing? What are you thinking about? But I tried to be the girl next door. I really did. I wanted everybody to love me. I was going to be good, do what I was supposed to, but kind of didn't work out that way.
Oh, that's funny.
But
I
I've had
can
a
relate to
wonderful
that.
life. I have.
Do you have any visions of the future of Earth and the planet? And people talk about ascension and all those kinds of things. Are you getting anything on that at this time?
I used to get a lot of visions of the future, and my guidance would say, "This is a possibility. If you change your mind, this could not, it would change the future." But we were living in Oregon, and I couldn't sleep one night. And I'm a good sleeper. So it was cold in the house. But I had to get up and go downstairs, and we had a little pellet stove there. And I put the coals in there, and I got my journal out, and I was all covered up in a blanket. And I wrote one sentence from Serapis Bay. Have you ever heard of him? He's
Yes, yes,
ascended
he's an
master.
ascended master.
And
Yeah,
he said to me, "I'm going to give you a course in ascension. Now you can go back to sleep." I got one sentence. And that's when I started channeling this course, which my husband and I taught for years all over the place. We went to New Zealand. Anyway, it was a 4-week course of working on yourself with meditation, first focusing on the physical, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, and how to connect with your guides and the masters and that sort of thing. So that was all about personal ascension, which is so essential. It was called Ascension Guidelines. And that was in the late 80s, I guess. Yeah, 80, 89 or so. I got that whole thing download from Serapis Bay.
that's fascinating,
Yeah,
and
it's not
that's what
about,
people need today in order to go within. Is the
yeah,
meditation and that type of guidance, because I run into people a lot of times who say, well, I can't meditate.
yeah,
Of course, if you say you can't, then you can't.
yeah,
But a lot of times, I think people just need some kind of guidance, some kind of tools to work with, something to make them feel that they can do it. I mean, we've been made to think we can't do a lot of things, but we're actually very, very, very capable beings. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes. I think that there's many ways to get out of your thinking mind and into your heart or your spirit. Just like yoga or, some kinds
I
of
love
that.
yoga. I
Just
haven't done it for a while, but I love
deep
it.
breathing. There's so many ways to calm yourself down and begin to feel that you're attached to more than your body. We aren't our bodies. We're so much more. We're all in this together, and we're all part of spirit. And we just got to feel that love, to feel that. Ah, it's that'll make you a meditator. But you don't have to be a channel and you don't have to see all these colors. And I always was embarrassed to tell people what I saw because how come she gets all this stuff and I don't get anything? They're probably sleeping and snoring over there. But anyway, I took a lot of meditation classes and I just go off into space, and that's just me. That's my individual purpose here on this planet. And we all have gifts and we all have ways to help and serve. So that's what I feel the soul portraits really help a lot. They help you realize, okay, I'm not just a dumb person that's going to die one day. You're in this with the rest of us, and we all need everybody to love and to reach for that light and wisdom within us already. So I've gotten
So
very
the techniques that you suggest to people, maybe we could talk about that just a little bit because it'll help people, and that's the purpose of this.
okay.
So you talk about breathing. So
Yeah,
how do you instruct people that way? Um,
yeah,
just taking deep breaths
yeah. That
through the
makes a big
nose.
difference. And just visualize yourself aligned with the higher spirit, with light. I think of it as light. And move it around your auric field and connect with the earth and bring it back up. Um, I have a weekly meditation at my house. It's a healing group, and we've had so many miracles. And it's more powerful when people get together and focus on the same positive thoughts. And so that's just one way. You don't have to be a visionary artist do to meditate. There's another one.
I've had more visions in meditation than I have dreams that I remembered.
Uh, well,
Um,
dreams are another good way to remember,
mhm.
especially the ones right before you wake up, because you work through your problems of the day in the earlier part of the night, and then you right before you wake up. My guidance started. I get up and go to the bathroom. I guess I shouldn't say this, but I do go to the bathroom.
It's life.
I go into the bathroom, be sitting there, and they tell me, interpret my dream. And I think, wait a minute, are you watching me all the time? That really upset me. Don't I have any privacy? You
It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Well, it was very strange, because I didn't have any training in this. It was just happening to me. And I was like, oh, in the shower, you're watching me there. But they're not actually looking at your physical body. They're looking at your energy, your aura, the energy around you. And so you can, you can look
People are
have a
recognized by their
you
energy
can have a
signature,
bad
right?
hair day and still, you know,
Doesn't
communicate.
matter. Yeah, I'm
Talk
having one of
with
those
your
today.
And to think how patient and they have to be to communicate with our guides. I mean, some people, I used to feel when they were coming, I would feel energy in my throat. And this one big guy came for a soul portrait one time, and he said, "Yeah, my guides tickle my nose when they want my attention." Some people feel it other way, but if you can imagine you being on the other side, the guide, and you're trying to help this person, and they're so unhappy and so alone, and they don't even know you're there loving them, and so we're all in this together. So
And we're all loved
be
immensely,
kind to your
correct?
guidance. They're trying to help you. Oh dear.
That's beautiful. People need to know that they're loved and they have guides. And there are, um,
Yeah.
We're all one, and where we go one, we go all. They keep saying that, but
And that's what my soul portraits are all about. To have something to look at to remind you, okay, I'm okay. I've got this connection with spirit. And, you know,
You are never alone.
right, even in the bathroom.
I almost sprayed coffee all over my keyboard.
Oh no, don't do that.
Oh no.
It's a good thought. Yeah. Yes, it
Oh,
was a lot for me to learn about all this information that was coming through, and these characters, and oh boy. But yeah, it's been a great blessing, giving me a
yes,
wonderful
it's
life.
awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking too, and if this would be a great, I mean, it's that time of year. It would be a great Christmas gift for someone too. A soul portrait. Uh, Fascinating.
I did them for my 4 grandsons for their first birthday, all 4 of them. And
Oh wow.
that was really for their parents to realize that they were a soul, that they'd come with choice to be with them. And then I did them again for all 4 boys for their when they were 13, when they were teenagers, and did
Well, that should be interesting.
another round of portraits. Yeah, so it's really interesting. And of course, they're not into spirituality, going to church or anything, but I get these wonderful images of. I have one of a boy that was my son's younger boy. He was standing with his hands on his pocket and a cat on his head, on top of the world, smiling away. And he didn't know he had this big, beautiful guardian angel behind him, but he was on top of the world.
I think I saw that picture. That's a
Yeah,
wonderful. I think I did. I think you showed it to me.
yeah. I had it up here, but it's in the other room now. Yeah, yeah. So it's good for the kids. Doesn't people don't seem to go to church anymore, or but I mean, my
Well,
family
there's
doesn't.
dogma attached to that. That is
Yeah, it's just
problematic.
not in the way, but we still have spiritual work to do. We're still spirits at heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and connection to spirit is really especially important now because there's been a galactic war going on. Oops, that was the wrong one. There we go.
Yeah, one of the first guides that came to me years ago in the early 80s when I was just starting to meditate was Ashtar. Ashtar is the head of the Galactic Confederation,
Mm-hmm.
and I never heard of him. I took it down to my meditation teacher, and I said, "Did you ever hear of Ashtar?" And they said, "Oh, Ashtar, who's that? What did he say?" Oh, really? He's somebody you know? And he just simply said that they're here to hold as much as they can, hold the higher. Now, this is the Galactic Confederation, okay, the good guys in the galaxy. And they were holding the light and the energy as much as possible, that they were not going to land and take over and save us from ourselves. We had to do that, our part with that. So that's what he told me early on. And later, I've come and done his portrait for individuals. He'd be their guide or something. And all his crew, I did all his crew one time. And I used to set them around my bed when I was meditating, and I was up on the ship with them. But people think
Fascinating.
that's crazy, but I've seen, I suppose I shouldn't say that. Jesus is called the most radiant one. And he was
Mm-hmm.
always my first guide, really spirit guide. And he would be up on the ships, and he was just so glorious and so powerful. But he was working with the Galactic Confederation too. We all need help here, so we don't destroy our planet.
If I could ask one
Yeah.
question, I mean, there There are so
Okay.
many people have so many different on Ashtar. Right?
Yes,
Some
I was
people
thinking
say
the same
good
thing.
guy. Some people say he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Could
Right.
you encapsulate the whole impression that you got from Ashtar as far as all the communications you've had with him? What's
Well,
your take on that?
he's a very great being, and he has a lot of responsibility, and he has. Um, it's really, I think, of just this a sector of the galaxy that he's in charge of, not the whole, not the whole one, but I've been up on the ships and been with his. I've done portraits of all his, his crew. He has they're wonderful beings. He has this big guy that I don't know if they're on the website or not, but this great big guy. He's real big and strong, and he runs the ship. The actual physical ship. And then there's the negotiator. He goes to the meetings that the galactic has, and then there's a spiritual member there too. She helps him keep aligned with light. So my experience with Ashtar has been wonderful, and he has the most incredibly powerful blue eyes. I used to keep his portrait in my kitchen, but I couldn't cook to Ashtar. He was too commanding. You have to say, yes, sir. So I
I've heard that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I've heard that probably one of the reasons there may be some of this controversy over whether he's a good guy or a bad guy.
mm,
Someone that I spoke to in one of my encounters said that there was a holographic imitation of him, which wasn't the good guy,
uh,
but and just and he had a lot of crew members. You shouldn't just discount everyone because of something that's probably been um,
it's all
a
distorted.
form of false light, you know.
Yeah.
And
That's unfortunate. And people ask me, do you ever see dark beings and everything? And I really can't, because I always start with the light in my meditation. And, anybody I've felt sometimes this dark energy would try to get in, but they'd be gone. And then only wonderful, loving beings came. And Ashtar is certainly one of them. He's powerful, very powerful. And you want him on your side. But,
what about El Morey? Do you know him?
oh, yes, Moria was one of the first ones that came in I had this vision of being lifted up in meditation, and I saw these gorgeous light beings. They were so powerful, just like being bliss in heaven. And there were 12 of them, and they were blessing the earth. They were in a circle, blessing the earth. And as I was coming back into my body, they said, it's time for you to do our portraits. And I said, who are you? I really panicked at that. But I was doing oil paintings in those days. And so I started with the first one, which was Sanchas. And he was my guide from the Shambhala in the Himalayas. That's another story. They all have their story. And then it's like a clock. There's one master at each number. And El Moria was the second one at number 2 came through. And I had never heard of El Moria. And he said, well,
I've seen him in meditation.
I'll tell you later. We had lifetimes together. Okay. That's all I got. I put El Moria, and then I went on around the circle. And my daughter came in, and when I was working on it, she said, how come there's only 3 women? And I didn't even know there were lady masters, I was happy there were 3. It was Isis and Mother Mary, and that's where I first met Celeste. That's where I
Mary
took my name.
Magdalene,
Yeah,
was she
that's
one?
where I took my name from. I changed my name to Celeste.
Hmm.
But anyway, El Moria, yeah, we had a lifetime and that's I don't know if it's in one of my stories or not. But I was his sister, and of course I was married off. I wasn't married. I was sent as a concubine to the Middle East. He was a very great being in India. And he brought together all the different religious leaders, and he tried to get them to create a universal religion. And all they did was fight over
Amongst each other. Oh, that sounds
all,
like
all
typical.
religion. He tried to bring forth a universal. He was a very great master there. And
Kind of sounds like the Council of Nicaea.
yeah, it does. And but after he died, he had two sons, and they just fought each other, and that was the end of that, unfortunately. But there are these great beings that come through. Zoroaster, and there a lot of them I learn about them because they're on the planetary council, and they're in charge of their planet's evolution and working together. So he's
Are you
one of
familiar with the Council of Nine?
Yeah, I've heard of them too.
Have you
As I
had
say,
encounters with them at all?
not specifically.
Okay. What about the Council of Five? I've heard of them too.
No, I haven't.
There's a lot of different councils on that front.
Yeah, well,
from what I've
that's
heard.
wonderful. And, they all have different work to do, and hopefully they work together.
Yeah. Well, what was the what happened to planet Earth that brought about this suppression of the divine feminine, shall I say?
Well, there was a time when the women were the bosses. They were in charge of everything, and the men were subservient, and then it changed around. So now it's coming back around to more equally
Shouldn't it be balanced?
divided.
Really?
It's just one way of expressing life. Trying to be boss, trying to have control. And yeah, but we all learn, unfortunately, by the mistakes we make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't there? Don't you think that balance between the two, that it should be more of a balanced thing?
Oh yeah, sure. My daughter's my warrior, and man, she speaks her mind, and she's very strong. You wanted me to talk about the feminine warriors?
Yes.
Oh, I've done quite a few of those. There's Athena. She's the goddess in the Parthenon. They have this big statue of her in Greece, Athens, Greece. Athena, and she has this owl with her. And that's wisdom. Owl means wisdom. And she learned that the best, well, not to fight with blood and gore, but to find peaceful solutions. And so I know one story I got about, what was his name? It's a Greek story of this warrior that comes to Athena and asks for help, and she tries to help him find place without killing everybody, bringing to peace. So that's the wisdom aspect of the female warrior. You look for other solutions besides going to war and settling things that way. So that's always possible.
Who are some of the other ones?
Well, there's I don't know. I just think of Athena, and I've done. Some people come in, and I do. Athena's is their guide. Their spirit guide.
Wow.
And I do her portrait. I know I've done that. Just had a young woman come to my meditation group, and her name. She's taken the name Athena, so I was looking through my soul portraits, and yeah, I've had 2 or 3 of Athena's helping women be strong but loving.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most powerful thing.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to have one of those done one of these days.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to do it. Yeah, as I say, I only do them like maybe once every 6 months or once every year, because I don't want to be your guru. I want you to be your own guru. I want you to find out who your closest guidance is, perhaps. And so you can communicate directly yourself. And that's what it's all about, for all of us stepping up.
What do you do to help people achieve that, or how do
Well,
you guide them, or whatever?
I give them this reading and I draw this portrait, and this is okay. You're connected to this powerful being, and they're helping you. So don't forget, when you need help, go to this person, and you'll get great ideas. Maybe dreams. Lots of times
Mm-hmm.
they communicate through dreams, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that can be really powerful. So for a long time, before I started to meditate, when I was living in Europe, I started to write down my dreams, and I drove my
Mm-hmm.
husband crazy. I was waking up 3 or 4 times a night. What are you doing? I'm just going to sleep, And I would write. I was dreaming constantly, but then I'd read these books on dream interpretations and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out that the ones right before you wake up are the most helpful in your life. If you can get the imagery of it, it's all symbolism and
Mm-hmm.
emotions and things like that. So that can help people a lot. But,
Is there a East Indian woman guide or warrior or master, so to speak?
I'm sure there is. Hmm,
I was,
I've done so many lady masters. They're
mm,
wonderful.
mm.
There's Kuan Yin was really my
Oh
first
yeah.
um, lady master. I
Mm-hmm.
was up in Oklahoma with a friend up in the mountains,
Mm-hmm.
and it was summer solstice, and I went up to about 10,000 feet and started to meditate, and I was taken up into this great big meeting place, and
Mm-hmm.
it was round and it was huge, and all these beings were there, and I kept seeing people I knew. And, oh, what are you doing here? I don't know. We're here. And then they opened the doors, and we went inside. Here were all these wonderful, wonderful beings, masters, and they were surrounding the earth and blessing the earth. And it's time for the divine feminine to return. And that was the first time. Then I felt all this loving, loving energy come pouring forth into the earth. And that's when I did Kuan Yin. I came down from that mountain and I
So
drew
cool.
Kuan Yin's portrait. And she has her hands together, and she's so sweet, but she's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So feminine. But if you know her story, do you know about Kuan Yin? I haven't looked it up.
I know Kuan Yin. I know
Yeah,
of her, but I can't really say I know her story.
yeah. Well,
Um,
she was a real person, and she Chinese, and she was supposed to be married, and her father had picked out the man she was going to marry and everything. And she said no, she wanted to be a nun, and she wouldn't do it. And so she went to this. He made her go to this nunnery. There's my portrait with my. Those are my
Kuan
friend's
Yin.
hands praying. And somebody said, "Oh, she has pink hair." No, she has so much flowers in her hair. It's all this love I felt from her. Yeah, that's my first one, Kuan Yin. And then I did a lot of other lady masters. But they made her scrub the floors and do all this work, and she was a high aristocrat, really, used in her family. And she didn't care. She just kept on. She wouldn't go and get married. She
She
wanted to
was the
be,
original Cinderella.
well, maybe, but different thing where she wanted to live a spiritual life.
Mm,
Did good work there. Do you have any other pictures here? You have some more
mm.
about of the
Different
lady
masters.
masters.
No, I would like to point out something that I think is important, and that is that the ascended masters or our different guides
Oh
are
yeah.
here to help people, but they're not meant to be worshipped or anything of that nature. Would you agree with that?
Oh yes, definitely, definitely. They have become a master. In other words, they've finished all their karma here on earth by living good lives, okay, in all their
Mm,
suffering and everything. and they all have these stories. But they are working in the higher dimensions, and a lot of them go off and work somewhere else in the universe. But the ones we know of, and I communicate with, are the ones that have stayed to help Earth. And yeah, they're not God, they're not this creative source, but there's so many different dimensions and levels and ways to serve, or not, or destroy, So yeah, they're just
I
they're
just wanted to
wonderful.
point that out because some people, I think
Right.
um, they're not to be worshipped. In fact, they would discourage you from even thinking about
Right.
that.
So I have
They're-
Mother Mary here. She's the one. No, that's that's
That's
oh,
that's
Lord.
Horus.
yeah. He's the one of the sun, from the story from the tales from the sun. Is interesting. That's an interesting story. As I say, if someone,
Wow.
can you find Mary? She's the one with the rose right there. I can't point it. I did that when I first was visiting Sedona. We went over to Airport Mesa. There was a little center over there with a rose garden. And I said to my husband, can I, because I felt her energy.
Oh, I
So
can't point to it. The one with
no.
oh, there's Lady Athena.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
okay,
she's
cool.
powerful.
The one with the rose on is that the one you were
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, if you can find it. Anyway,
And where is that?
and I
You'll see
painted
it.
her with,
She's got a rose on top of her head. She's kind of like
yeah,
one,
it's the
two,
third,
three, four
third one
rows
in.
up, third one over.
It's just one over from Kuan Yin, two over.
Four
But anyway,
rows up from the bottom.
yeah, I've done her several times, and she's the head of the Order of the Rose.
Up with your little note.
It's
Not
oh
that
yeah,
one.
she's an interesting one. No one's ever bought her picture. She's like into, fasting and.
It was right above her, Paul. Right
Yeah.
above her.
Yeah, right above.
There. Oh,
There
there
you
we
go.
go.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Mother Mary.
There she is. Yeah, I had done her portrait in with the masters that I was talking about. The 12 masters, and she had stars around her head. And I'm not Catholic. I didn't know she was called the Queen of Heaven. But when I was here, and I was in the rose garden and did her portrait, it was this rose. I kept trying to put stars on her head. I couldn't. I had to put this rose up there. And I didn't know then that she represents the head of the divine feminine. There's divine masculine and divine feminine. So the rose is a symbol of the feminine energy. And I know I've had lifetimes where if you give someone a rose, another woman, they know they could trust you and believe you and help you. So I've had a lifetime in Russia like that.
My mother's favorite flower.
No wonder.
Roses, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Well, if she was the queen, then who was the king?
The Queen of Heaven. It's in Revelations. Did you ever read the ancient Revelations?
Not recently.
Queen of Heaven.
I forgot most of it.
It's a story of there, and it was really strong. I had to put those stars around her head, and that one. My guide stands behind me and said, "No, that's not right."
Oh, wow.
Okay, I change it. You should put up the picture of Archangel Michael. Now that was a challenge.
See if you can find that one, Paul.
Archangel that came to me, and he was so powerful, and he filled up my whole house with his light, And I wanted to, and he said, "I'm Archangel Michael." I said, "Yes, sir." I was like, oh, okay. And I wanted to make him really powerful. So I went to the local mall at the bookstore, and I was looking at pictures of men, bodybuilders. And my daughter brings over this magazine of naked men. He said, "Here, Mom, is this what you want?" Honestly, that was a big help. But he is a naked archangel with a
So
green
where
snake.
is Michael?
Michael's
Is Michael?
right here. He's under the masters, I think. Do you have any of those? I don't think so.
Um.
We don't have a separate thing in there, I don't think, for the masters.
Oh,
Send it.
okay.
I mean, the
Archangel.
archangels.
You got Archangel parts.
Archangel portraits. There.
There you go.
Archangels, yeah. There. Is there one? Oh, I have that.
There's
There he
Michael.
is. There's Archangel Michael. And it's him real powerful in the light, transformation, the gold light. And it's the earth down below that he's put his sword on, and she's all curled up and dark. And I saw this green snake, and I thought, that goes around the earth, But my guidance kept saying, no, that's not right. That's not right. Only they don't say it like that. But anyway, so I ended up putting it around. He's standing on one. If you can make it any bigger, I guess you can't. But he's standing on one end of the green snake, and it's like the Kundalini coming around him and being transformed into the eagle above his head. And there's the animal in there. Yeah, there's an eagle up in there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it.
So it's
Yeah.
all about transformation. And his face is really peaceful. His hair's on fire. But I was really just learning to work with my guidance, and they were helping me. Tremendous power and glory. What did I say? Oh,
To cast Lucifer's legions out, depicted wearing golden armor, sword, and standing over a fallen serpent. Interesting.
yeah, they all are archangels, but they have different functions, so they look differently. I have Raphael, Archangel Raphael. That he's the healing. There he is. And I sold that one right away. And I sell a lot of those of the healing angels. And he's pointing to the scroll, which I didn't understand. Yahweh, name of God. Yeah. So, and it has this double helix behind him. But anyway, the healing is always wonderful, Archangel. And then there's Raphael and Uriel and Gabriel. Gabriel is a lot more than just the guy that brought the message to Mary about Jesus. He's in the Bible mentioned.
Is he in there too?
Mentioned in the Bible.
Well, there's Uriel.
Yeah, there's Uriel, and he's so wonderful. Fire of God. He works with Lady Master Nada in the 6th way. Okay. He's the overlighting angel of the threshold between dimensions. He lovingly watches. And that was before computers, so he has a pencil in his hand. The young couple set out on Earth's cycle. See the young couple there. And threshold between dimensions. And anyway, he records their evolutionary progress. When the couple gains enough love and wisdom in their physical human incarnations, they will pass on to higher relations to continue their eternal life. So down at the bottom, you can't see it, but there's lots of birds and animals and a little child running along.
Is Gabriel in there too? Are there more?
I don't know. She should be there.
Keep scrolling down, Paul.
I'm at the bottom. There's only 3 on that.
Oh, okay.
Only 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've done 7.
I have master portrait.
I have Zadkiel on my my rack card here. You can't see it, but I love Zadkiel.
1 second. 1 second.
Yeah.
Here. Hold that up.
Kind of like that.
Oops, gotta switch over.
There we go.
Oh, there.
Yep.
Okay.
There we are.
I can't get it backwards. Anyway.
It's backwards for you. It looks great for us.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it does. It looks fine.
So he's like holding his hands out, supporting the earth, but there's a young man there with the earth in his hand. And it's the idea that they're there, but we're working together. They can't do it for us. We got to do our part and take responsibility for what we're creating here. So I love Zach, yeah. He's, well, anyway, I won't tell you all this stuff. I had to learn a lot of things about a lot of beings because I like to know. So I read all these history books and metaphysical books and they
Fascinating,
get it
actually.
together. Yeah. They're
Yeah, and
amazing.
all of these pictures, all of these groups are on artsedona.net.
Yeah, that's my website.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
well, is there anything else that you'd like to cover, Celeste, about your work or about anything that we've been talking about that you think would be?
Well, I've done a lot of time. I have a lot more stories. I can't tell them all now, but it's so interesting though to be to be open to this whole dimension of experience of consciousness, you know.
Hmm.
And it took me a long years to, really begin to be comfortable with it and to do my part. But everyone can.
Hmm.
Everyone's part of,
Is there
life.
any advice you have to people to how they can learn to listen to their intuition or their guidance or anything of that nature that might be helpful?
Well, I think the biggest thing that helped me was to meditate every day at the same time. And I dedicated, that was my part.
Hmm.
And so that my guidance could know that they could find me then and I'd be quiet and I'd listen and we could communicate. So really that was the most powerful. And it's so simple, but it takes a lot of discipline to do that.
Hmm. And you would
Saying
do it in the
I will
morning.
be I will be here meditating every day at the same time. And it can be morning, noon, night, whatever is convenient, but try to make it at the same time. And that just opened the gates for me so they could try that.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, we might have to have you on again sometime, and you can have
Uh-oh.
one of your stories ready to share if you want to. I mean, that's
Yeah.
entirely up to you.
Well, I
Um,
love to. I mean, I've just been given so many wonderful stories. I could
yeah.
start reading my book. Ooh, the sex in the first chapter. No, I said,
wow.
yeah, I love the sex.
Well, Tales from the
It's all
Planet sounds like a very
Okay.
interesting book. Did you have something you were going to say, Paul?
well, I
Paul's in
just
the
wanted to dig
background
a
today.
little. Yeah, I'm in the background. It was a rough night. Um, pardon me. I just wanted to dig a little bit deeper into the meditation and opening yourself up to the ascended masters. Make sure that you do a protection um, thing beforehand. Um,
Yes, that's good.
set forth your intention that only benevolent things of love, light, and peace and joy can communicate with you and block out anything bad. And if you are in a communication with um, an entity that is presenting itself as a master, the moment you begin to feel that that connection is not right, break it off immediately. Maintain control of your communication with any master that's communicating with you. You know,
Yes, thank you for saying that. That's so important.
because some of them, I mean, they can be tricky. Some of them, they come in just like that. They're your best friend. They're like Vinny from the old neighborhood. He'd never do nothing to screw you up. Oh my God, he's just breathing fire. That ain't Vinny. That ain't Vinny. So,
Exactly. And you have to be that's part of the learning process, always to start
yes.
with the light and keep yourself in the light and have nothing to do with the darkness.
That's
Because
what you were
it's
saying
tricky.
about seeing the light kind of coming in and spinning
Yeah,
around you. And
yeah, visualize that.
well, what's interesting about that is too, um, it's been found that white light activates, which is God's light, really, um, activates the God genes within us, and they have recently discovered that we actually in our DNA have God eternal within us, written in our DNA, which is absolutely amazing, because they've actually figured out, based on the different codes that relate to certain elements, and it actually, that's what it actually says, God eternal within us.
Yeah, God eternal
And
within the
what,
body and in every
yeah,
language
yeah,
known.
it's absolutely amazing. And I think I'm going to have Robert O. Young on, and we'll talk about that in greater depth. But, and then it's the sound health Sherry Edwards, who talks about the white light activating our God genes. So,
Oh,
just based on what you're saying,
mm,
it just demonstrates how important and how true it really is.
yeah.
So
Right.
fascinating. This is where kind of, you would never think this would happen, but it's a little bit where science and spirituality are starting to mesh,
Right.
which is a good thing. Before, it used to not be that way, but
Yeah. And
it's
scientists, unfortunately, have had to admit that if you observe an experiment, it changes it. So our consciousness is always affecting the life around us.
exactly.
Even in a scientific experiment, they can't stop it. Once they start observing it, it changes the results. And they stop observing, it goes back to being some other
Okay.
way. Interesting.
Yes, consciousness is a thing. Intention works, and so does prayer.
Yes, yes.
And right now, we're all working toward higher consciousness, more awareness, more light in our life, and
Right.
so we can ascend with the planet, because Gaia is going to ascend.
Right. Right.
Many years ago, I had a collective consciousness type website, and it was just a gathering place for people to read, like the intention on the page, and to work. Everyone working together to focus on the ascension of the planet and the uplifting of humanity and your fellow man and everything else. But I lost that domain name. I might try and get it back. It was karmicwhoopass.com, and we opened a
Oh,
can.
wow.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's really great that you have a weekly meditation on Tuesdays in Sedona,
Yeah.
and I have yet to make it there, and that's one of my goals. I'm going to get there. A lot of times I have shows and I can't necessarily make it. Like this last Tuesday, I had 2 shows in one day, and I would
Oh,
also like to mention
well,
that.
there again, like the meditation, I've had same time, same place, you know, getting
Mhm.
together to meditate and bring in higher
Well, that
healing
makes
energy.
so much sense.
And so it's easy. I have my archangel paintings all around in my
Yeah,
master's room,
I've been in her house. It's beautiful.
and
There's paintings all over the place, and they're
and
awesome.
that helps the higher energies come and work with us too. So found that
one thing,
helpful.
one thing we're going to have to talk about probably is set up a simple, either through a telephone or um, a Wi-Fi tablet or something like that. Just setting something off in the corner and actually streaming one of those intention sessions live,
Mm. Well,
without any fuss or muss or any overhead
We
or
could do
anything like
that. We
that.
could do that if you want to think about that. I don't know. That
yeah,
would
Yeah,
broaden your audience or your
we
listening,
are together.
and
We're more powerful
powerful. Yeah,
for good or
yeah.
evil. Yeah. So anyway,
Well, we'll certainly discuss this again.
anyway,
And I want to thank you so much for joining us
yeah.
and for
Thanks for having me.
sharing your stories. And I'd also like to mention that this is a listener supported channel, and anyone who's willing to contribute would be greatly appreciated. And thank you so much. And this is why I always look for people such as yourself to be able to bring forward that can help humanity at this very, very critical time.
Yeah, it's good.
And
You're doing good there, Gaia. Keep on.
okay. Thank
Goodbye.
you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, listening audience. Thank you, Celeste. We will talk to you again and see what we can come up with. So
Okay.
thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
We'll stand. We'll stand. We will stand. Standing tall.